Hey everybody, welcome to H4G. My name is Tony, and today we're checking out Zelda 64, unused attacks, unused animations, unused idle animations, all sorts of stuff regarding what they wanted Link to do and move like, but they ultimately didn't utilize. Let's check it out. So let's go ahead and get started with an unused attack. Now you surely remember there's a leap forward and swipe, right? He kind of jumps forward, boom, with the sword, but it wasn't always like that. It used to be a front flip, which you could see in some early trailers. But check it out. Here it is, still in the debug ROM. Pretty neat. It's flashier, but I might have actually preferred it. I don't know, I'm not quite sure, but let's go ahead and test this in the field. Let's see if it actually works. Now, I thought it was kind of important here to include some of my misfires, because you do need a lot of space for this technique. The distance has to be right, you have to be far enough away, otherwise you're just going to fly into the enemy and hurt yourself. So here's another version of this. It's much quicker, it's a lot harder to follow. It almost looks similar, but it's not. Let's take a look in slow motion here. And it's actually a weird sort of backflip, and then a forward attack. Now, backflip does actually exist in the finished game, but it's more of a sort of defensive maneuver more than anything. This one is really damn cool looking, so let's go ahead and field test this one too. Now, similar to the first flip attack, you cover a lot of ground with this one as well. So you do need a lot of space, otherwise you're just going to bash yourself into the enemy. I'm wondering if the distance requirement here is one of the reasons why they did not include these attacks. Moving on, in some of the beta trailers for this game, Link had a manual jump, which he didn't really have again until Breath of the Wild, I think. Everything was just an automatic jump. He'd get to the end of a ledge, boom, he would jump automatically, and that was it. Now notice that this video has a jump icon, and he jumps mid-battle. Taking a look at these old beta images, you can see the jump icon again, regardless of any sort of platform that he can be jumping off of or auto-jumping off of. Now my best guess as to why they removed this, it probably added an extra layer of strategy to the fighting. However, it was probably a pain in the ass for the platforming. Considering this isn't really a platforming game, but it does have those elements, they were probably testing it, realized it made it unnecessarily difficult to jump from place to place, and just made it an auto jump. That would be my best guess anyways. And I think it was probably a good decision to remove it. But originally in this game, he would just jump whenever you told him to. And that code is still in the game, both in Ocarina of Time and in Majora's Mask. And this cheat allows you to reactivate it. There are also some unused idle animations, and what I mean by that is when Link is standing still. So for example, here's his idle animation when he's holding a single-handed weapon. Here's an idle animation when he's holding a two-handed weapon, like the Big Goron sword. So now let's switch on the code. This is a beta two-handed sword idle animation. Unused. A lot different, right? Sort of practicing, I guess you could say. Here, like he does with the Master Sword, but different, more fitting for a heavier weapon. Brings it up, slashes down. Let's take a look at what happens when Link crouches. Depending on what he's holding, he either holds up the shield or goes into a defensive posture. Now with another code, we can see a defensive posture with a two-handed weapon that went unused. He's actually holding up and guarding with the sword itself. He's defending, but he's also ready to attack if necessary. Let's go ahead and try it out. Unfortunately, none of the defensive aspects of this made it into the game. As you can see, I am taking a beating. This is doing nothing for me, but it does kind of look cool. Obviously, if they would have used it, I'm sure they would have programmed it as such that Link could defend himself like he would with a shield with this particular maneuver, but it doesn't look like it does anything here. Now those were the beta elements. Let's move on from those into some hacks. Now just to explain the difference, the beta elements were things that we could find that are in the code that we're kind of bringing to the surface that were left over or unused. These hacks that I'm going to show you are manipulations of the game. Some of them are designed to sort of emulate beta elements, but they aren't truly beta elements. So first things first, in some of the original trailers, you could see that Link would unsheath his sword and then swipe. So it was unsheath is one motion, swipe is another motion. In the final build, it's all one motion. If the sword is sheathed, you press the attack button, boom, he pulls it out and he strikes. All one motion. This particular hack separates the two out once again. It's a little clunky looking, but it works. Pulls out the sword and then he does something with it. Now, this is nothing crazy, but I thought it was kind of cool for those beta purists out there. The next one here is kind of interesting. It's a third-person mode. Now, for those of you that are familiar with the history of Ocarina of Time, Miyamoto originally wanted Ocarina to be a first-person perspective game, and it would go into third person when you used a projectile weapon, like an arrow, or the hook shot, or the slingshot, or something like that, right? So now what we currently have is a first-person perspective when you pull up a projectile weapon, and then you could sort of Z-target your way out of it into a third-person perspective. This exists in the actual game. But what this hack does is instead of putting you immediately in a first-person perspective, when you pull out your bow, it just automatically places you in a third-person perspective, which is more akin to what the beta, or really like the alpha, would have done. And then you have to press Z to actually Z-target from there. So realistically, in this third-person mode, it's called the third-person cheat, it doesn't really do much for you. Looks interesting. You can kind of get Link in different angles where he's like head-on to you and like facing you. It's neat, but it doesn't really serve a purpose. I guess none of these really serve a purpose, really. They're all just kind of for fun. Speaking of just for fun, obviously we know that the Megaton hammer is a two-handed weapon. This cheat allows it to be a one-handed weapon when he's striking. Kinda neat. Thought I'd show you just because it was kind of cool. Not really beta, just fun. Otherwise, basically no difference. I wanted to give a big thank you to VictorHale for collecting and curating many of these codes for me to showcase today. Also a big thank you to the Cutting Room Floor and Unseen64. These two sites do God's work when it comes to beta content. They are amazing. You should definitely check them out. Also, some of these codes that I've showcased today have been floating around online for quite some time. So if you know who specifically authored them and discovered them, let me know in the comment section below, and I will definitely credit them in the description. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching. It had been a minute since I had done an Ocarina of Time beta quest, so I figured, why the hell not? Our normal beta quests, including the next episode after Banjo-Kazooie, will be out soon enough, so stay tuned for that. And aside from that, thank you for watching, subbing, clicking that notification button, and we will see you guys next time. Appreciate it. Thank you again for watching, everyone, and if you are craving more beta questing, I have two great playlists for you. On the upper left is our Ocarina of Time playlist, and on our upper right is everything we've beta quested that's not Ocarina of Time. Check them out, you're gonna love it. I'll see you next time.